Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, checking out the series. You know what to do. Like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. And I've got one of my all-time favorite groups. They have made some of the coolest music of all time, and I do mean that. Cowboy Junkies are back with a brand new album called Such Ferocious Beauty, and Margo Timmins is here. Hello.
Hi.
It is a pleasure to meet you on here. And I've been a fan for so long. And this record, I love them all, but there's something about this one that's really getting me in maybe a way that something hasn't in a long time, you know. But so just I'm throwing the compliments out there. What this album is it's perfect.
Oh, great. Well, that's really nice to hear. That's good.
So I've read a little bit about how it came together, and especially about you, Michael, spending so much more time kind of processing these songs and finding the mood. And maybe that's the place to start. How did you all find the sound for this album? And on your parts, is there a sense of finding a voice for each new record?
No. There's more on my part, there's more a sense of finding the way to express the song, my way into the song. I'm not the songwriter, so I don't start with that initial, this is what I want to say, like if I were the songwriter and then the singer. I'm given the song, and then Mike doesn't sort of say, this is what it means, this is what I wanted to say. He doesn't give me instruction. I'm left with my own interpretation of that song, which is a huge gift. A lot of songwriters, have an intention. Mike's always allowed me to do it my way, which is a great thing, but it sometimes can be a struggle because sometimes at first I have no idea. I don't know what the song means, and I have to find my way, and I have to bring my own life to it. And I sing from an emotional place. I don't have any technical skills. I just find my way into a song and do it that way. So sometimes it can be, as I said, a struggle. Sometimes it's right there. I know exactly what I want to do. So having time to do this album gave me more time to find my way in.
Yeah. And I know it's probably not, I guess what I'm saying is there's probably overlapping projects, especially over the last few years. I don't know from when you guys started writing it and the other stuff, because there was a covers album that also came out last year, which was great. Do you find that any of those moments offer spillover? Do you keep them separated? Are those just moments to stretch a little bit?
To me, it's all just one big thing. I don't, this is, this is Ghost, this is songs, this is, Ferocious Beauty. It to me, they're just songs. And I think Mike would, because he's more of he's also the songwriter and the player, but he's also the producer, has to sort of, and more manager of the band, along with the other manager people, has to sort of be more compartmentalized that way. But I don't. A song is a song. I don't care who wrote it. I just have to find my way into it and do it the best way I know how.
Yeah.
So.
But, obviously, I do love the way you find your way into these songs. And getting into it a little bit, we start with What I Lost. Not only is the first song that we hear, but it's also the song that kicks off the album. And I, knowing that there's heavy subjects that are involved here, I want to say that before I say I kind of chuckled the first time I heard it, because the first words we hear is, I woke up this morning. And I think is the line that every songwriter just can't help but writes.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. And often we don't know where we are either. So, I had that feeling the other, I'm in Chicago right now, and I woke up the other night and I was in the dark and I had no idea where I was. I had no idea what the room looked like, what city I was in. I was just, and I had to lie there for, where am I? So it came to me, but yeah, I woke up this morning is a good opener.
Yeah, well, it's the perfect opener for this. But I think, and it's almost like, I know a lot of songwriters that'll get, they get frustrated because it's just so easy to write that line, but then to make it work, that's where the talent
Yeah.
comes in, I want to say. And this song does it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, and obviously I don't want to put words in Michael's mouth, but talking about the heavy themes, as we read from press releases and things, what we do get a lot here, songs about your own father and the Alzheimer's, and this passing of torch to parenthood. If you can speak on the record, maybe from where he was coming from, or maybe from where you found your way in, because I know that is sort of a big landing point of where these songs go.
Yeah, so my dad died our dad died last June. He was 94 and had lived, the perfect life, in that he was too young to go to war, found his passion very young. He was a pilot, found that passion, went off and lived that passion, spent his whole life in the aviation business. Um, Married my mom, was madly in love with my mom, and they spent their entire lives together, had 6 children. I don't think he knew where the children came from, didn't care. He just wanted my mom. The babies kept coming. And she took care of everything, and died old. But his death, I never really was sick. None of us were ever sick. They always had enough money. So, the life you want to live. But his death was long in coming. He had dementia and slowly started to lose all these memories, memories of my mom, memories of his life, which was, he traveled the world. All these memories disappeared. Eventually, he didn't even know who we were. And to watch somebody deteriorate like that and just lose your life, is really quite something to watch. So that song, is just about that. Just in that period where he did know he was losing his memory and losing control of himself, and lived in constant fear because he never knew what was going to come in the next moment and whether he could handle it. That song is that's what it's about. Is just this, what I lost today, that's that stupid question. You come in, so how you doing, Dad? How am I doing? I woke up this morning and I didn't know who I was, and that was, it was true. He would wake up and not really know who he was or who I was or anybody else. So it's a heavy duty song, hard for me to sing. I worked on it really hard because I wanted to get his loss, and I also wanted to capture our the tragedy of it, just how huge it was, to watch, and not to be able to do anything about it. So yeah, it's a big song to do.
Yeah, and to lead off to it. So first, my condolences.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's the thing, he died. It was, like I say, he was 94, and he was not in a good way. So yeah,
yeah,
sometimes death is a blessing too, right?
right, right. Figuring that out on my, we've done three interviews, 3 funerals in the past week. So yeah, it's sort of in that mode and we all go through that. And I think about that. I mean, there's a lot of ways to go, and none of them are great. But it seems like dementia is like the thief, to have that theft upon everything. My heart's with you that you're singing these songs, I guess is what I'm getting to, because even when I, flood, like I'm not exactly sure what flood's about, but the idea of a flood is something that takes a lot of the time. It's more loss that goes through that. And I guess what I'm getting to is, again, finding your own connections, because these are coming from Michael's sort of point of view. So to find your own connections to these memories that you have your own version of, I mean, is there a compromise within you somewhere in there that sort of is like, oh, that's yours and I remember it also, but maybe with tiny details different?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, What I Lost Today was one of those songs that just came emotionally came easy, in that I knew what it meant. I knew what I wanted to say. I didn't necessarily know how to sing it, and there was a lot of different attempts and phrasing and just emphasis on certain things to get it to where I wanted to go. Flood was a song which took me a long time to figure out, what does this mean to me? And because it's Mike's songs, it's Mike's words, but what does it mean to me? And what do I want to say with this song? So that one took a lot more just sitting with the words and singing it over again. And, I do a lot of walking with my dogs. That's when I sing. They hear they hear the songs first. So that took a lot of thinking, more thought. Where What I Lost didn't take much thought. It was right there. So every song comes with a different challenge.
Mm-hmm. And Hell Is Real, by the way, that's there's that moment where your voice is, I don't know if creaking is the right, you're on the line, I'm scared.
Yeah.
And
I live in that place a lot. The more I watch television and CNN and all those horrible TV shows, I am scared. I think that the time when this album was written, we were in COVID. Trump was doing his Trump things. Mm-hmm. The world is a more scary place than it ever was. And on a personal side, we were watching my father fade away. And I think that song, Hell Is Real, in my mind, it's not from the Christian sense of hell, heaven and hell. I think that hell is real. It's just that in our everyday lives, the hell is there. It's we can be very frightened, even though we live in such a wonderful part of the world and bombs aren't dropping on our heads and we have healthcare and we are certainly the lucky ones. It doesn't matter. I think in your everyday life there are some pretty frightening things we all have to deal with, and that is a very emotional. That song is right from my heart.
Right. Well, and it is, and the way it's just basically you and the guitar. It's so sparse, and you, when you talk about living in a sound, like we're all, when I listen to that, like I'm living in that sound, whether I'm emotionally ready to be or not.
Yeah, and that one. Certain songs, I'll say that I would come to Mike rented a farmhouse up the road from I live on a farm. So he rented one up the road, and we'd go over every afternoon. We'd work on songs, and that kind of song, I know what I want to do, and I want to capture it really quickly. I don't want to, let's do this verse over. I want to just do it, because I want to do it in a mental state. So that's one of the songs, which I have a few of, where I came in and said, okay, I'm ready to do hell. Let's do it now. I was probably seriously depressed. I don't know. Bad mental health day. And that's what I did. I said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. You'd have to be in a mental state for that one, I would think.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and if you want to capture what I wanted to capture, which is just, and I'm glad you said that, because that element of fear is there. It's a scary world.
And then at the end of it, I mean, we hear the sound of nature, crickets or whatever, and it lasts and it goes on. And I'm not saying it goes on too long, but it goes on longer than I would have expected on an album. And it just plays out. And there are those moments that that's not the only moment in this album where we hear nature
Mm,
and we hear the world,
mm.
which could be just a fun studio trick. But I was just, wondering if there was a comment on that, like what role that played within the record.
Well, a huge part. Like I say, I live on a farm, so my life is surrounded by nature every day, and even more so during COVID because we were there and the airplanes stopped and the cars stopped and so nature became even more profusive. It was just there, and I and then when Mike rented the house up the road, he'd spend the mornings fishing, and then I'd come up and we'd play on these songs. The windows would be open, often in the middle of he's a bird watcher, I'm a bird watcher from way back when. And, you know, as soon as I'd arrive, so did you catch any fish? We talk about his fishing. And then I said, oh, I saw a porcupine. That's weird, see a porcupine. He's kind of, and then as there were big glass windows around us and even in the middle of the stuff, oh my God, look, it's a warbler. Oh, like, we'd stop and look. Didn't matter how good the take was. Like, oh, get the binoculars out. So, and the windows are open. So all the noises you hear are real noises because it was happening. And I think that that's kind of what this album's about is, yes, there's a lot of focus on these really heavy duty, emotional moments that are just life moments. We all have to go through our parents' deaths, hopefully not too soon, but within those moments, yeah, you do see a cardinal, or you do see an eagle, or you see a porcupine, or you go fishing and just stand in water all day, with a pole. There is that beauty, and that's the weird thing about life, is this constant up and down. Everything has such a such a pull, and the good and the bad, and everything. So that's those sounds, yeah, they're real. They're not studio tricks.
It does offer that a really interesting balance to that, especially coming out of those scary moments of that song specifically, and then going into this calming presence. And I can say so many things about, I mean, it's like Shadows 2 almost feels like a pop song in comparison when we finally arrived to it. And Knives, I mean, that song, I used it earlier, the word, but it's just so cool how that feels. And that's, doing the vocals to that one, because that's, I don't remember if it's actually an abstract rhythm or a different kind of rhythm, or if it just feels like that. But that feels like it might have been a bit more of a tricky one to pull off.
It was. And that song, all the songs on this album started acoustically, which is, in the old days when we would write, Mike and I would work on songs on his acoustic guitar and sort of almost get the songs to a folk level. And then we'd take those songs to Pete and Alan, they would add their rhythms, and often the songs would change in completely different directions. We haven't really had a chance to do it that way for a long time because our schedules are that much more busy. This time we were able to go back to that method. So even Knives started off as a folk song, like just acoustic song. I mean, not folk, but he grooved on it, but just guitar and vocal. And so it went through a lot of different paths, and it was a challenge. There's no doubt about it. But some challenges I want to veer away from. Like, oh no, this is too much, too hard. But that one immediately I wanted. I love the groove. I love the words. And I knew it would eventually find its home.
Yeah.
So yeah, fun song.
Very unique song amongst the others. And what role does Mike Tyson play in all of this?
You'll have to ask Mike, our Mike. That was a really weird song. We're beginning to talk about we're about to release this album, and so we're going to have to start playing some of these songs live. And in May, we're having a rehearsal to figure out how we can translate them into a live setting. And I was looking at the songs. I thought, okay, we're not doing that song live. No way. So that is a really weird song. To tell you the truth, I'd like more time with that song. I feel I could find another, and I almost would like to do it live, because I think if I did it live, I'd have a chance to find it. It's not quite where it should be. For me, as a singer on the album, it's my weakest one. I'm not, can I do it again? Like, I want to do it again. And I don't even know what it means. I mean, I think I do, but I'm not quite sure. And there's always those songs on albums. Like, I mean, I've done a lot of songs with Mike that I have no idea what you're talking about, and I approach those songs, if I really don't know what they mean, I approach them sort of as if I'm singing in another language, and just focus on the words and the rhythms and my phrasing, and making this, not so much the sense of the song, but the emotional sense of the song, and the feel. Mike Tyson, I'm not quite, I do think I know what it means, but I'm not sure. So
it'll be a great mystery for us for a little while, and that's fine.
You can maybe tell me what it means, and I'll take it.
No, that's fine. And then we get to the end of the record with Blue Skies, and we have like an abrupt ending suddenly.
Yeah.
Like what? Are we done?
Yeah.
Where are we left here? Where are we left in the grand scheme of this story?
Yeah, well, that's it though, isn't it? It's sort of, then you're just done. And I think that's watching your parents die is that is the big message. You're here and then you're not, and you're just not. And I mean, I'm 62 years old, so unfortunately I've witnessed a lot of death, people I've loved, and friends that have died way too soon. So it's not as if I'm unfamiliar with death, but the death of your parents really sort of, whoa, I think because your parents are iconic, they're just not, it's kind of like the death of rock gods, like, what? David Bowie can't be dead. It's David Bowie.
I'm still saying that to this day, by the way. Yes.
Yeah, and I think your parents are like that. They're like rock gods, in that they're just in your mind there forever, and they're there for you. So when they die, they're just gone. And I think you get a really, for the first time, a true sense of your immortality. And not only they're gone, but then you're next. I'm next in line. Which, wait a minute, how did I get to the front of the line? I had grandparents, great grandparents. So I think that's sort of, that's how we ended the album. Was just, you're here, then you're gone.
You're done. Wow. Wow.
It's not necessarily morbid or sad. It just is, I mean, that's the way I look at these things, is, I'm very much a realist. I don't get too emotionally dramatic about all these things. Life is kind of, again, sort of this, it's crazy, and it keeps you wondering, what, huh? I'm always confused. We wrote a song years and years ago called "I Don't Get It," which we still do live, and I still don't get it. I might have lived that much longer, but I'm still not quite understanding this. But
no final answer at the end.
No, there's no answer. It just is, and then you're just left with all their stuff. That's what I find quite something. It's like you spend your whole life accumulating all this stuff, and then you leave it for your children to have to get rid of. It's like, wait a minute, this can't be the meaning of life.
My son walked into my office the other day, and we were just looking at just all the music that I have surrounding me. He goes, "So one of these days I have to deal with this, right?"
Yes, and you tell him, yes, you do.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I'll wrap up with this, so we don't necessarily wrap up with death, but Speaking of the older stuff, you guys resurrected the Sharon sessions and put those out recently as well, which was so great hearing those. So I'll have to ask, is there more of that in the vaults? More of those?
There's a lot of stuff. I don't think there's a complete album like that, because Sharon was meant to be an album. But definitely there's a lot of songs that we've recorded that we haven't released for whatever reasons. But yeah, Sharon is a unique lost album. It's fascinating for me to listen to that and hear this young girl. Who's she? But yeah,
She's not next in line at that point. That's who she is.
no, that's for sure. No, I definitely wasn't thinking all these morbid thoughts.
It's a great record to listen to, and such a fun little time capsule to be able to peek into that moment too, especially after it's become a bit mythical and legendary in itself, those sessions. So it's great to see that out there. With all that said, I am so in love with this record. Such ferocious beauty. I'm so glad you all did it. And Margo, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.